Good morning from Maui. How are you doing this week? I sailed this week. I sailed. We had some good conditions on Maui, some unexpectedly good conditions. Uh, this time of year, it's normally windy and not much in the way of waves. May, June normally are on the smaller wave. Can still be really fun, but normally it's yeah, not so big. But this week, we haven't had much wind, and the waves that we had have been really big, really fun. So really unusual conditions for May. I'm not sure what's going on today. It looks like the trees are already blowing, so it's going to be windy today. Uh, I'm not sure what the waves are doing. Is it still up? We had mast high waves, so that was quite a treat for Maui in May. It was a lot of fun. We got Axel in the chat. Hello, Axel. Sailed every day this week. If you are watching this, then you are probably getting it on YouTube. Let me just post a link in the group, and then we can get into the coaching. If you guys have any questions, you know the drill. Just interrupt. Live coaching May 19 is now. All right. All right. Who else we got in the chat? We got Ragnar. Hello, Ragnar. No sailing, but a business trip to the West Coast at the end of the week, hoping for a good forecast. We've got Christoph saying waves and wind are coming. Hans, no wind, no waves. If you're joining us, say hello in the chat. All right, I'm going to get the Facebook group loaded up. And let's get into it. I was thinking something kind of interesting on the water about learning, which is how cyclical it is when we're talking about wave riding. So when I'm coaching someone who's just getting into wave riding and someone who's trying to win a World Cup, sometimes we're working on the same thing, which is staying focused on one cutback. So when you're doing that top turn, staying really focused on completing the turn, not thinking about the next turn. And so when you're just getting into wave riding, one of the mistakes that people make is they're kind of all over the place, all over the wave. And so they're not putting in the attention to getting one good lined up bottom turn, one nice off the top. And so a lot of the coaching is about, all right, figure out the timing. Don't worry about a second turn. Just get one good turn. Just work on that one good turn. But once those one good turns start to happen, then it's about linking more turns. Okay, go into that next turn. You're not going to feel ready, but go into that next turn. Get the second turn. Try to get some flow. But then once there's a little bit of flow, then there's a process of going back and working on the cutbacks again. It's okay. Stay on that cutback longer than you think. Don't think about the next turn while you're in the cutback. Complete the turn and then go into the other one. And that sort of ratcheting process of working on completing the cutbacks more and then rushing into your next turn before you feel ready is this continual learning process, which is pretty cool. So it's relevant whether you're just getting into wave sailing or whether you're trying to win a World Cup. It's really a lot of the same process, of staying on that cutback longer. Can you complete that cutback a little bit more? And then can you go into that next turn a little bit faster? And doing those two things so that you don't want any gap between your turns, no hesitation, but you also want these really complete cutbacks. Anyway, I thought that was interesting. We got Matt in the chat, Suna as well, who met up with Stefan Plume. Nice. Jorg had 5 sessions this week. Awesome. Tomas, Eric. Nice. You guys are getting on the water. All right, I'm going to load up the Facebook group. Nice. Awesome story, Suna. Love to hear it. And we got Greg in the chat. We had a surprise down the line session after work. Nice. Cool. Sounds good. I know that those are difficult. All right. Let's get this Facebook group up. All right, here we go. Let's get into it. All right. So first up, the questions on this post. We've got a question from Ragnar. When waves are small and you go closer to shore, lighter means larger sail, larger fin. It's easier to hit the fin. Quad is probably better from that perspective, but thruster gives more drive, maybe smaller center fin and larger thrusters. Yeah, so these conditions are tricky, and I know you've posted about them a lot, Ragnar. I think you've got pretty particular conditions. And every time you post a question, I try to think of where I know that's similar. And I think of Tenerife on low tide. Tenerife on low tide. I think definitely having a quad in those conditions can be helpful because, yeah, your fins are going less deep, right? So they're going to not hit as easily. It's tricky. These conditions are not conditions that are very common, where you're dealing with really shallow water on rocks. So I think the quad is probably a good idea. I think there's also a lot of technique that will help, and some of this we've talked about a lot before. So I don't want to go into too much of it today. But for example, really making sure that you're turning out of the wave at the last second, and then you can fall in the water and get your sail up and do a body drag where you're a little bit farther outside so that you can water start without worrying about hitting the fins. But it's tricky. Those are tricky. Dennis is asking when the wind is coming back to Northern Europe. I don't know. I haven't been checking wind forecasts. What do you guys think? So Axel's asking about one-handed top turns. Which point do you take your hand off? Axel, are you talking about front hand or backhand? Let us know, and then we can provide some advice. Greg is saying he's still trying to work what to do with the top turn on steep dumping waves. We've got Max in the chat. Hello, Max. Hans says bigger fronts, smaller centers. His advice for a tri-fin. It's better on small waves. Yeah, I can definitely see that. All right, so Axel is asking about the backhand. So Axel, you can take off your backhand really at any point in the turn. The front hand can be a little bit more tricky, but with the backhand, you can take it off as you're going into the cutback. You can take it off sort of halfway through the cutback, at the end of the cutback. I recommend for learning taking it off right as you're going into the cutback. So you do the entire cutback maneuver with your hand off. All right, if you are in the group, but I guess also if you're not, if you're just watching this, you can use my discount code at Adventure Sports, and they sell everything. They sell windsurfing gear, kite gear, kayaks, wetsuits, whatever. You can get 10% off. Here, I'm posting in the chat, so you can access it if you're watching this. I think also if you're just on their site, you can use the code just Ezzy10 and you'll get 10% off. Works on everything. So really worth checking out if you're in the US and you want to get new gear. Or, they sell, it's not just about getting sails and boards. They sell a lot of different things. All right, Axel is looking for a mast foot protector or a universal protector. And it looks like some of you guys are working that out. Awesome. Speaking of Axel in Morocco, there are a few more places if you want to join me in Morocco. We're doing a masterclass there June 15th to 21st. It's going to be a lot of fun. We've already got a good group signed up, and there are a couple more places. And I'm really looking forward to it. I haven't been back to Morocco in about 10 years, 12 years. And it's really fun windsurfing. It's one of the most fun windsurfing places around Europe or in the world. And so I really, really recommend checking out Morocco. And if you want to go with me, improve your windsurfing, learn how to learn, June 15th to 21st, you can apply. Well, I don't have the link here, but there is a link. It's in this group. You can just go to windsurfingmasterclass.com to apply. All right, so we've got a recommendation from Axel saying definitely go to Morocco. Nice. Bay is also going to Morocco. Everyone's going to Morocco. Mule at the end of June, depending on the last minute forecast. Can anyone share information on the conditions? Yeah, so I think it can be really fun sailing. Rob is saying that he had 1.8 meters, 8-second period. I would expect, anywhere from waist to overhead waves, and it can be really windy. So make sure you bring small sails. All right, here's the application for Morocco Masterclass. Oh, Jakob, I am so sorry to see this. Looks like you've injured your shoulder and had surgery. That is too bad. We have some doctors in the group. I hope you were able to get some advice. I injured my supraspinatus as well when I was a teenager. I went over the falls on a big wave, holding onto my gear kind of backwards. And I don't know exactly what happened, but tore a bunch of things in the shoulder. It took maybe 6 weeks until I was back in the water, but it's an injury that's lived with me my whole life. That was 20 years ago, and sometimes it'll start hurting. Sometimes I've got to do the extra physio exercises. So it's been an annoying one. But I think with the rotator cuff, at least in my experience, if you do the exercises, you keep it strong, you're not going to have issues with pain. Wow, that was a short week. We are all caught up. We're all caught up. Short week. I am going to call it a day. I wish everyone a super windy week. If you want to sign up for one of the master classes happening this summer, check out windsurfingmasterclass.com. Go to schedule. Otherwise, I'll see you next week, Sunday. I'm hoping to get on the water today. I'm a little antsy. Like I said, we had one day this week, which normally is really weird. Normally, May, you have a lot of windy days, but not many waves. We had one day in the whole week with wind, but really good waves. And windy today. So I'm going to get my work done. I've got a couple things I've got to do, and then I'm spending some time with the family. So I'm going to try and squeeze in a little session is what I'm trying to say. And I'm going to get down to the beach. I hope you guys have a windy week, and I will see you next week, Sunday. Post your questions, videos, photos, comments, all of the above in the Facebook group, and I'll see you on Sunday. Bye-bye.